Hello, everyone. Today's story is about courage, freedom, and finding the strength to choose your own future. It also includes many useful English sentences for daily conversation. So, listen carefully and practice with me. Now, let's begin. My name is Olivia. I am 20 years old now, but this story began 2 years ago, when I was only 18. It was the year that completely changed my life. I still remember the afternoon when my stepmother destroyed all my dreams with just one sentence. I had just returned from school. After changing my clothes, I went to the kitchen to wash the dishes before starting my homework. It felt like an ordinary day. Then my stepmother called my name. "Olivia, come here for a minute." There was something strange in her voice. I dried my hands and walked into the living room. She was sitting calmly with a cup of tea. She looked at me for a few seconds before speaking. "Olivia," she said, "next month, you are going to meet the ma who will become your husband." For a moment, I thought she was joking. "What?" I asked. "You heard me." "I don't understand." "You don't need to understand." "I want to finish school," I whispered. She smiled, but there was no kindness in her face. "Your future has already been decided." Then she stood up and quietly left the room. I sat there in complete silence. My hands were shaking. How could someone else decide my life? Before that day, my life had never been perfect, but I still had hope. My mother passed away when I was only 5 years old. I remember very little about her, only her warm smile and the way she used to sing before bedtime. After she died, my father, Thomas, raised me alone. He worked hard every day. Even when he was tired, he helped me with school. Every birthday, he called me his little sunshine. I believed nothing could ever change the love between us. Then, everything changed after he married Catherine. At first, she treated me kindly. She bought me gifts. She baked cookies with me. She even told people she loved me like her own daughter. I believed every word, but slowly, her smile disappeared. She became cold. Nothing I did was ever good enough. Every morning before school, I cleaned the kitchen. Every afternoon, I washed clothes and swept the floors. Every evening, I cooked dinner before studying. Still, she always found another reason to criticize me. "Why are you so slow? Look at this floor. Can't you do anything properly?" No matter how hard I worked, it was never enough. The hardest part wasn't Catherine. It was my father. Whenever I tried to explain how unhappy I felt, he simply sighed. "Listen to Catherine," he would say. "She only wants what's best for you." Each time he said those words, a part of my heart broke. The father who once protected me had slowly disappeared. After Catherine announced the marriage, my life became even worse. She checked my phone every evening. She read my messages. She refused to let me visit my classmates. I felt like a prisoner inside my own home. One night, while taking out the trash, I heard Catherine talking on the phone. "She's quiet, hardworking, and respectful. Yes, she'll make the perfect wife." My feet froze. She wasn't talking about a daughter. She was talking about me, as if I were something to be sold. The next morning, Catherine walked into my room carrying a beautiful blue dress. "Wear this tonight," she ordered. I looked at her. "Why?" "You're going to meet someone." "I don't want to." Her voice became colder. "This isn't your decision." I looked toward my father. "Dad, please, I don't want this." He avoided my eyes. Then he quietly said, "Just do what Catherine asks." I felt tears filling my eyes. A few hours later, we drove to a huge mansion outside the city. Luxury cars filled the driveway. Everything looked expensive, but I had never felt so empty. Inside the living room stood a wealthy businessman named Victor. He looked almost 50 years old enough to be my father. He smiled while looking at me from head to toe. "So, this is Olivia." Catherine smiled proudly. "She's polite, she cooks, she doesn't argue." I felt invisible, like I wasn't even in the room. Finally, I gathered enough courage to speak. "I don't want this marriage." Silence filled the room. Victor frowned. Then he laughed quietly. "Young girls don't always know what's good for them." I looked at my father. I prayed he would finally stand beside me, but he remained silent. That silence hurt more than any words. On the drive home, nobody spoke. But deep inside, I knew they had already made their decision. That night, I packed a small backpack. A few clothes, my school books, some family photographs, and the necklace that had belonged to my mother. I stood beside my bedroom window for hours. I wanted to run away, but where could I go? I had no money, no relatives, no safe place. So I sat on my bed, held my mother's necklace tightly, and cried until the sun came up. The next morning I woke up with swollen eyes. I had cried all night, but nothing had changed. Catherine acted as if everything was normal. "The engagement is next week," she said while drinking her coffee. I looked at her and quietly replied, "I'm not getting engaged." She smiled. "If you refuse, you'll leave this house with nothing." I looked around the room. Then I said, "I already have nothing." For the first time, she had no answer. Later that evening, my father came into my room. He sat beside me without saying a word. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "Our family is drowning in debt. Victor has promised to help us." I looked straight into his eyes. "So, you're trading my future for money?" His face turned pale. "It's not like that. But that's exactly how it feels." He lowered his head. Once again, he chose silence. That was the moment I realized I had already lost my family. A few days later, the engagement ceremony arrived. The house was decorated with flowers. Guests were laughing. Music filled every corner. Everyone looked excited. Everyone, except me. I wore a beautiful white dress, but I had never felt so trapped. Victor stood beside me with a confident smile. He whispered, "You'll thank me one day." I didn't answer. Someone brought the engagement rings. My heart started pounding. Victor reached for my hand. I looked across the room. My father was smiling politely at the guests. He didn't even look at me. In that moment, something changed inside me. The fear disappeared, and courage took its place. I slowly pulled my hand away. Then I stood up. "I can't do this." The room became silent. Everyone stared at me. Catherine rushed toward me. "Sit down, Olivia," she shouted. I looked at her calmly. "No, I'm not a prize. I'm not something you can give away." Victor's face turned red with anger. "You've embarrassed me," he shouted. I looked directly at him. "I never agreed to marry you." My father finally stepped forward. "If you leave today, don't ever come back." His words hurt more than anything else, but this time, I didn't cry. I took a deep breath. If staying here means losing myself, then I'd rather leave. I turned around and walked toward the front door. People called my name. Some tried to stop me, but I kept walking. I never looked back. Outside, the cold wind touched my face. For the first time in years, I felt free. I walked until I reached a small bus station. I sat alone on a wooden bench. I had no money, no home, no plan, only hope. An elderly woman sitting nearby smiled kindly. "Are you all right, dear?" I wiped away my tears. "I will be." She gently held my hand. "Sometimes the hardest road leads to the best life." Those words stayed with me forever. The months that followed were not easy. I worked at a small cafe during the day. In the evenings, I cleaned offices. Every dollar I earned helped me survive. Slowly, I returned to school. I studied harder than ever before. Years passed. I graduated with excellent grades. Later, I found a good job at a publishing company. I rented my own apartment. It wasn't big, but every corner belonged to me. One afternoon, I received a letter from my father. He apologized. He admitted he had failed to protect me. For a long time, I didn't know how to feel. Eventually, I forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Today, my life is completely different. I'm no longer the frightened girl who believed she had no choice. I've learned that real freedom begins the moment you decide your own future. If someone is trying to control your life, remember this: you are not anyone's property. Your dreams matter. Your voice matters. And sometimes, the bravest step you can take is simply walking away. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more inspiring English stories.